Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, The Girl with the Rose Tattoos. My name's Becca and today I'm going to be sharing with you my top 10 favorite books from 2022. So I have a lot. I know it's just 10, but this seems like way more than 10. But I'm trying to go through these as fast as possible. These books I would definitely read again. And I highly recommend reading. And this is not like from least favorite to most favorite. This is just overall I love all these 10. So the first one is Simone St. James, The Book of Cold Cases. She wrote 3 books that are like similar to this style, and I loved every single one of them. But it's about like this murder that ended up turning into a cold case, and the person that really knew what happened finally opened up about her family to this person that loved listening to cold cases on the weekend, and she finally got an exclusive interview with her, and it's such a page turner. It's such a good book, and I love this is the first book I ever read that had like supernatural activity in it, and the way the author incorporated it into the book was amazing. It wasn't like too much. Loved this book, loved the suspense. It was a really good story, and like the ending is not what you completely suspect, and I loved it. So, next up, another book. The ending of this book took me by freaking surprise. The Silent Patient. Both of his books are actually in my top 10. This is by Alex. I'm not gonna try and say his last name, but I guess she was this woman who was an artist, ended up in a psych ward, and she wasn't talking about what happened. Her husband was found dead. They weren't sure if she was the culprit or whatnot. And this new psychiatrist started at this building, and he is the one that like gets her to finally talk, and it's just, the ending is such a freaking twist. I was not suspecting it, and it's such a good book. That he is such an amazing writer, and I want to read this book again. It is not what I suspected at all, and I highly recommend his books. So third book I have here is of course another one by the author, The Maidens. One of the characters that was in the first book pops up again in this book, and he wrote this one after The Silent Patients. So this is about this woman who's, I think it was her niece or friend or something. I don't remember her relationship to the girl, but she went off to college and ended up that her friends ended up dying, and they couldn't figure out who the killer was, and the person that the girl's aunt, I guess you would say she was, suspected was not the actual killer. And it's just another really amazing book that has a lot of twists and turns, and is great, and highly recommend reading this author. He has such amazing writing skills, and the way that he makes it a page turner, and the ending, he always has an ending that you do not suspect. I tried figuring out what would happen, and I got it wrong because I thought I could figure it out, but I can't. So this one is actually going to be a series. It's called The Stardust Thief. I did get this from Book of the Month, and this is a fictional book. It reminds me a lot of Aladdin, actually, but it's a lot darker. So it's about this girl who they call the Stardust Thief. She works with this genie, and genies are not allowed. Genies were all killed by the king. So the king killed all the genies, and his son, and his son is the one that kills most genies. He's like the 40 thieves. He's like the head of the 40 thieves, and the girl with the genie has to go on a quest with the king's son to go find some special product that the genie's made. I can't quite remember. And then there's like ensues a huge fight at the end, and it's amazing. Very reminiscent of Aladdin, but like a little bit different. Very good book. Loved it. Can't wait for the other books to come out. I think one of them is gonna come out this year. I'm gonna reread this again. Amazing author, amazing book, and I just loved it, this fiction book. Next up, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. Another amazing book. So pretty much this girl wants, she was born in the 1800s, and pretty much her life was that she was going to be having an arranged marriage, and she ends up making a deal with pretty much the devil that she wants to live her own life and live forever. Not live forever, but like live her own life and no one tell her what to do. But ended up becoming a curse because everyone that she met forgot who she was, and she lived forever. And then she finally met someone that actually remembered who she was, and it tells about their story and why she's trying to figure out why pretty much the devil would let her remember this guy or remember her. And it's kind of sad at the end. It's kind of sad, but I really enjoyed the book. I would read it again. It is a pretty large book, and it's just, I love learning about Addie, and you get like snippets of her life throughout the whole book, so you don't get like her whole story right at the beginning. You get snippets of like her past in between like the present, and I loved how the author did that. Great way to write the book. Next up, The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. This book was freaking amazing by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It is about the story of Evelyn Hugo and her life. So she, people wanted her story her whole life, and then finally she picks a reporter to come, and pretty much she tells her whole story to this reporter. This reporter doesn't understand why Evelyn chose her, and she finally figures out why Evelyn chose her, and she's so surprised by like the ending, and the reporter's surprised about why she chose her, and she doesn't believe her. And Evelyn's story is just amazing. It's amazing how well Taylor wrote this book, and I loved this book, and I definitely want to read it again this year. Next up, we got How to Stop Time. This was a really good book too. So this guy, Tom Hazard, has a secret where he pretty much lives forever. Like, he doesn't age past 41, and he just lives forever and ever, and has to keep moving around, changing his identity so people don't realize what's going on. And he wants to figure out how to end this curse in order to be with someone that he found to love. And that's the one rule, that you can't fall in love like the people, because there's a society that protects all these people that, you know, don't age. And the one rule is do not fall in love. And of course he falls in love, and he tries to figure out how he can break this curse in order to live with the person that he loves. So he goes on a quest to try to figure this out, and then it just gets better. Like, as the book goes on, it gets really good, and I really enjoyed this book, and it was definitely a book I recommend to read. Next one. This book was very popular this year. I saw a lot of people read it. I actually read it before it got like really popular, actually. Verity. Colleen Hoover's one and only book that I actually like. Don't come at me in the comments, because I know Colleen Hoover like blew up this year and everyone loves her books. I tried some of her other books, not for me, the romance books, not my liking, but Verity, loved it, because it kind of was a psychological thriller. Pretty much this writer, this very famous writer, was in a bad car accident, and she did not finish her last books. So she, or her husband, I can't remember, someone hired this other author that wasn't, you know, had like one book that was famous, but after that she kind of like fizzled out. So he hired her to finish her books for her. So, and as she's at the house, she keeps on discovering secrets of this family that she's living with, and at the end you hear like both parts of the story and you do not know who to believe, the husband or the wife, and it is so surprising, and it's not what I expected at all of this book. She wrote this book so beautifully and I want to read it again, and whew, you're not gonna believe, like, some of the subjects she touches on are very difficult, about like child harm and kind of like a psychopath. Person she's describing is just 100% a psychopath, you know, person trying to harm her children, kill her children, and you know, some of the subjects are difficult, but honestly they don't bother me. Not a lot of stuff does bother me. So her Verity is probably the best book that Colleen Hoover has written, and I know some of you would probably disagree, but I don't like her romance books. That's just me. This one is top notch. Next up, this one I wasn't expecting to like, but it made my top 10, and that is Lessons in Chemistry. First off, beautiful cover. Pretty much just chemist Elizabeth. She was like dedicated her life to her work, and then she finally found in love, and her love of her life ended up dying and her whole world changed. She had to figure out who she was again, because she was a single mother and she never wanted to be a mother, and ended up creating this very famous TV show that mixed chemistry and cooking, and she became very famous for it. But it talks about like the struggles of being a widow and a single mother all at the same time, and how the struggles of life that she went through, and like during the time period of trying to stand out in her profession as a woman, and how she fought to do that. And it's amazing. It's this book. Highly recommend Lessons in Chemistry. Very good book. Not the type of book I normally read, but obviously I loved it. So I talked about this book not too long ago. This would probably be my #1 favorite book of this year of all time. It's The 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hugo. What the hell? I'm mixing all these books together. 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. So pretty much this guy, what's his name? Aidan Bishop is stuck in this loop where he has to figure out who killed Evelyn Hardcastle. And pretty much in every loop, after every loop, he's in like different loops, and every time he enters, how do I describe this book? So pretty much he's stuck in this loop where he has to find out who Evelyn Hardcastle is, and in this loop he wakes up as a new person every day. I think there's 7 different hosts, if don't quote me on that. There is an X amount of certain hosts, and each host he gathers different information, and by the end of it he has to find out who killed Evelyn Hardcastle, in order to get out of this loop, this hell, in order to escape it. And you don't expect this at the beginning whatsoever. You don't expect the ending of the book, and like it just doesn't give much information like at the beginning, and you don't know what the heck's happening, and then it like slowly revealed to you, and it just, you want to not stop reading this book. You want to figure out what the heck's going on, and you want to keep reading and keep reading. I highly recommend this book. So happy I found it. Favorite book of all time. And I'm definitely going to be rereading all these books this year. So that is it. This video is long enough. So those are my top 10 favorite books of this year. Let me know what some of your top favorite books were of this year. I loved hearing from you guys down in the comments below. Like this video if you love book content, and definitely hit the subscribe button, and I'll see everyone really soon in the next video. Bye!